Oh, hello, and welcome to Aldente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
Mikey, the E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have... Has anyone heard of this city? No one seems to remember it, and something horrific might have happened to it. That's right, we're doing a Reddit Nosleep story.
Yeah, you just read the title and know where it's from.
Yeah, complete with a sentence-long title.
Mm-hmm.
A story-long title. Has anyone heard of this story? Or has anyone heard of this city? Is by Malmto on Reddit Nosleep. I would like to preface this that this was set around 2018. This was posted around 2018, and the reason why I'm bringing that up will become clear in the rundown.
Okay.
I suppose I will. Yeah, I was gonna say it's like. So let's just dive into the rundown for this one. An officer, who I'm just going to refer as Officer Lexelius or Nair Lexelius, since we just get his last name. Of Kalix, Sweden, is asking for information on Reddit regarding the town of Corona, Sweden. This following... Yeah, a little too talk. This following a disturbing discovery in the woods outside of Kalix. A 10-year-old girl was found dead, seemingly fused to the side of a boulder. Stranger still, the girl, Isabella Lexelius, as noted on the library card that was found on her person, was apparently the daughter of Officer Lexelius, according to a later blood test. Though the officer seems not to recall having a daughter. So that's kind of weird. There was also far more blood at the base of the boulder than there should have been for one child. And there was a notebook found near the girl, which chronicled quite a tale. The story of a city known as Corona, which, as far as Officer Lexelius is aware, doesn't exist. The transcript of the notebook is supplied in this account, and then we get to read basically that transcript as the rest of the Reddit story. So, according to the notebook, Helena, aunt of Isabella Lexelius, was taking her niece to an amusement park in the city when the event happened. This event included basically the city of Corona being teleported almost seamlessly to another dimension or reality. One of the and this dimension had so like the city was perfectly fine, and then suddenly like there was like a weird shift or something, like a skyscraper in the city like was just like the top of it was just sheared off, and like some helicopters that were flying overhead, like their rotor blades got sheared off at a certain height, and suddenly people discovered that the city was surrounded by dense jungle to the west and an ocean to the east. The sun in this world also sets in a different way. No longer like setting in the west, it now sets in the north. As well as various strange and deadly creatures and beings exist in the wilds of this world. And then the story sort of just goes for like the next 5 years of the citizens of this town, or the citizens of the city attempting to survive this new predicament, with several triumphs and trials, such as like mutations within the populace stemming from an illness. And however, these mutations allow these people to, while they seem different and strange, they are immune to some of the wildlife that's in the jungles, where like normal people who go into the jungle, like to, go scouting and grabbing like meat or like meat and provisions and stuff like that, they don't end up returning, either bodily or spiritually or mentally. whereas these mutated people seem perfectly fine. Like they seem acclimated to the dangers. And the city also managed to set up a small nuclear power plant for electricity and such. Yeah, so that's cool. It is eventually discovered that there is a small deep hole in the city square, seemingly leading back to Earth. At least that's what they figure based on a radio station frequency that they are able to pick up near the hole. And it becomes a whole big thing. Like people will go with like radios and stuff like to the
whole small. It's not a whole big thing. It's a whole small thing.
I hate you.
You should. Please continue.
Okay. Yeah, where people are like bringing radios on the regular to the city square to listen to this synthwave mix channel for the odd time that like they get the DJ gets or says something about the real world or about the original or about Earth. There are several unknowns and dangers surrounding this portal since it's incredibly dark on the other side of the hole, and it's like 700 meters down. So like they managed to like strap a camera with I guess like a either a wired or a wireless like signal to a screen on the surface, and like when they bring it through the portal, it's just dark in there. But then when they try to pull anything back up through the portal, it is cut off. So there's some and it's a very small hole, and the bedrock is something that they can't really break into, or they can't like widen the hole because the material that the bedrock is made from. However, it is small enough, or it is the hole is large enough to fit children. So despite the risks to their children, they many of the city folk decide to send their children through in the hopes that they will be able to leave this dimension and reach Earth, because this dimension is sort of hostile to human life for the most part, or normal human life, and it's no place to raise children, according to most people. And that's about where the notebook leaves off, as Helena plans to send Isabella through the portal with this notebook in the hopes of reaching her father, unaware of the tragic outcome. And that's the end of the story. So, I suppose we shall move on to everyone tolerates the Grand Inquisitions at this point, because I've got a couple. The girl's sorrowful, dead gaze into the forest seemed to tell a story of a tragedy unknown to the living. So in this, the word "girls" it doesn't have an apostrophe between the L and the S, therefore it's not possessive, and it sort of makes it like almost seem like plural, like there's more than one girl.
Maybe there is.
No.
Okay. You're probably right.
It's supposed to be possessive because it's the girl's sorrowful dead gaze, not the girl's sorrowful dead. Like there's multiple girls with sorrowful dead gazes.
Yes.
So, next one here. We didn't think it would reveal anything, but it did. The 10 or so years old girl, Isabella, was my daughter. So, as you could tell from me, like trying to read that, I think that the 10-year-old girl is sort of like the use of like 10 or so years old girl sort of muddles it all up. So it should just say like the 10-year-old girl, Isabella, was my daughter. Like,
yeah, because if she is 10 or not, it doesn't matter. 10 is a vague enough age.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can just say 10. You don't have to like say like 10 or so. We don't really know
about 10-year-old.
Yeah, or honestly, just go with the 10-year-old girl. Like because 10-year-old is still like a vague enough has enough vagary that like it's not exact, but like she looks 10 years old. So there. Anyway,
or put the roughness in before it all, like the roughly 10-year-old girl.
Yeah, the roughly 10-year-old girl. Yeah, that would work as well.
It's
Although,
when it goes 10
it's still-
and then you put the vagueness after it and then continue the sentence with
It
what
just
it
muddies
is.
the
That
water.
makes it yes, that makes it muddied. I agree.
And then on to the next one here. I was only visiting Corona over the day to take my niece Isabella to the grand opening of the Red Grove, the city's new amusement park. So again, we have an issue where like they're using the plural of a word, so like cities, when they should be using a possessive, so like cities with an apostrophe after the or before the s. It's also like straight up like the plural version of cities, like it uses ies rather than ys. So,
Mhm.
um,
From the previous
And the
recording, I still hold that
I know.
possessive should always be s apostrophe.
when
That's
it when
me
it comes
being
to
wrong.
when it comes to like people like to things that aren't people, because people get the apostrophe before the s, not after.
I understand how it works. I just hate it.
I understand. I
just
understand
wish
that
my
you
English
understand.
was the real English.
Yes, we all wish for English 2.0.
Yeah.
Next one here. The sun, identical to our own, yet new and strange, sat due north instead of west, and was replaced by unrecognizable stars covering the entire sky. Okay, so this one a bit of a nitpick for me, and like I'll probably explain it a little bit later in my actual thoughts. But I think it's supposed to say set due north, not sat due north. Though reading it again, I can it does kind of sound okay to me as well, but I think it's supposed to be set due north. Anybody agree or disagree?
Yeah, let me find that section again.
The sun sits in the sky.
The sun, identical to our own, yet new and strange, sat due north instead of west, and was replaced.
I read that as set.
Yeah, it's sat.
Oh,
Like it's supposed to be. I feel it's supposed to be set, but
yes, that is the way I typonised it.
yeah, okay. And then my next one here, and then luck stroke again. Oh no, luck! You've had another stroke.
Oh no.
It's supposed to be struck again, like you've been struck by a smooth criminal. Bum, ba-da-da-dun-dun.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Indeed.
And the next one. We soon learned that there were different periods for when the fish was out to sea or close to land. So this one, I feel like it should be were, not was. So for when the fish were out to sea or close to land. Plural
Yes.
versus singular. And the next one. However, as soon as they came close to land, mysterious purple thunderstorms that lasted weeks tormented the city. Wait. Oh yeah. So let me read that because I forgot what I was actually like fixing in that one. I think I fixed it myself. However, as soon as they to land, mysterious purple thunderstorms that lasted weeks tormented the city. So I feel like there should be a comma between land and mysterious. So just kind of like break that up a little bit. It's like, however, comma, as soon as they came close to land, comma, mysterious purple thunderstorms that lasted weeks tormented the city. So,
Or
That's-
move it around a little bit so it's like, however, as soon as they came close to land, mysterious purple thunderstorms tormented the city for weeks.
yeah, that could work as well. Yeah, that would fix. Yeah, because that lasted weeks tormented the city. Like, yeah, you could kind of reorganize the sentence a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. It's almost laid out like they said, as soon as they came close to land, mysterious thunderstorms tormented the city. But before tormented the city, they went in after the fact and put in brat lasted weeks.
Yeah,
But then removed them later and then just add them in anyways.
yeah. Because it almost seems like that should have been a comma as well. Like the purple
Yes.
thunderstorms that lasted for weeks, comma, tormented the city. But that's like 3 commas in the same sentence.
Mhm.
Too many commas. Throw one away. And then on to my next one. Many people did commit suicide, yes, but most people choose to live on in this unknown land. Two events, however, changed things. Okay, so if you're going to have a segue like this, where like two events, however, change things after like saying like people choose to live, I feel like it should be chose to live, like to kind of like it's sort of a tense issue for me with this. Or maybe if you're going to keep choose to live in this unknown land, like maybe fix the segue sentence, like in the next paragraph, like. But I don't know how.
If it should
I
be
don't know
choose
how
or
you
chose. Honestly,
I think it should be. I feel it should be chose because everything else is kind of in past tense.
Yeah, but they're currently maintaining this choice to continue living now as she's writing it. She's saying
So
that
then
most
I feel like the
people
segue
are
should
still
maybe change.
choosing to live.
Yeah.
like now.
Yeah. Then if that's the case, the keep choose to live, then I think the segue sentence at like after like when you go down to the next line should be different, because for me it was bugging me, like going from like many people did commit suicide, yes, but most people choose to live in this unknown land. And then it comes to two events, however, changed things. For some reason that really bugged me, and I didn't write down a way to correct it because I figured just choose to chose. But looking at it now, I think maybe just like maybe even have like that said, two events changed things, maybe rather than however. I don't know. It might be a nitpick for me. Like I just really, when I was reading this part of the sentence, I was just like, it seemed almost like it changed course almost too abruptly for me in the sentence. Like people are choosing to live in this unknown land. Two events, however, changed things. And it's like, okay, well, no, thanks for giving me a high and then giving me a low.
Yeah, what events are changing people's thoughts over to suicide? Is that what they're trying to say?
Well, no, like people are choosing to live. I think what two events. I didn't actually write down what the two events were. I just
I'll keep reading. First is what happened: the ship getting gobbled up.
Yes, yeah.
And then
the
next event was different.
Was the discovery of the hole?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Again,
so,
what did those two events change?
Oh no, because like basically it changed it changed the morale. Because initially people commit suicide, but most of the people in the city chose to live in this strange land, like carry on. And then these two events.
So then, unrelated to what I just said, two events changed things also.
Yeah.
So I think your problem is the way that's worded. It sounds like it's directly connected to what was just said in regards to people choosing to live or die through suicide. Yeah. But it's actually meant to be just something completely different.
I don't think it is. I think it's like those two events changed things, but changed people's morale. Changed people's morale within the city, because having that exploratory mission completely fail when a giant monster gobbles up your ship.
Then the suicide rate increased.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then having the signal be discovered, and then the hole that might lead to Earth, like that would also change people's morale in the city for good and bad. Well, it might go down, yeah, because they almost became religious, because this was their one tether to their olden lives, basically. So
I don't know if I would say almost. It 100% became religious.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, 100% became religious. People just en masse going there with a radio device to pick up the signal. So, but yeah, that's I think it's just that first sentence though, the segues back to it, it's two events, I think honestly that said, two events changed things, or changed the morale. Maybe even that, be a little bit more specific of what changed, not things.
Yes, I'm finally understanding your problem with this.
Finally.
Yes, it should say two events, however, change the morale of the town.
Yeah,
For
I guess
better
I
or
just
for
want to be.
worse.
I wanted to be a little bit more like specificity or specificity to the to that segue. But I
We can
digress.
digress now.
I'll move on to the next one. I'm almost done, kind of. A military guard, a young man who had only been 15 at the time of our disappearance from Earth, discovered that when he stood at the center of, at a certain place at Freya Square, he could tune into a specific radio station from our old world. So I think you just need to remove that second two. So it says like at a certain place at Freya Square, he could tune into a specific radio station from our old world. So, and the next one here. Oh, yeah.
And honestly, when you said a military guy, a young man, I immediately started singing YMCA in my head.
As soon as you
don't need to feel down.
Oh, young man, just pick up a radio and
Put yourself
go
in the ground.
no. Young man, there's no just feel down. Young man, grab a radio and go to town and say, "Young man." Maybe one day we'll rewrite that make a mock-up for this.
Yeah, or not, but yeah.
It's fun to stay at the KORONA.
Yeah. It doesn't have the same kind of ring.
No, it doesn't. All right, I'll move on to the next one here.
Mm-hmm.
Yet we never lost fate. I think it's supposed to be we never lost faith.
Yeah.
You don't lose fate either.
Well, if you could change your fate, would you?
I like my feet the way they are.
No, fate.
Oh, I couldn't tell.
Sorry, I was mocking. Oh yeah, I was mocking up a Scottish accent because that's a line from Brave.
I'm aware.
Okay. And on to the next one. It took a long time, and now I'm getting closer to the present day. But eventually, the scientists decided that it would be worthwhile digging a large hole right where the radio waves seemed to sip out of the ground. I think it needs to be seep out of the ground. Unless,
yes.
like, the radio waves are sipping out of the ground, like, like just taking a big old sip.
Yes, you're right.
Okay. And my last note for Grammar Inquisition. The hole was guarded by police, but most of the police shared the city's collective opinion that the hole was the only way out. So for this, again, similar to earlier, cities is done like plural of city when it should be the possessive of city. So like city with a apostrophe and an S, like the city's collective opinion.
Yes.
I suppose if you want, you could put the apostrophe on the other side of the S for this case because it's getting into a little bit minutia of like it's the city as in the people of the city's collective opinion.
As with my understanding, you only go apostrophe S if the last letter is already an S and you have to add apostrophe S.
Fair.
So, unfortunately, no.
All right. But that is my Grammar Inquisition. So, Mikey, D stands for evil.
All right, well, you did a good job. So, I have a conjunction junction.
Ooh. And next stop, conjunction junction. Doot, doot.
It was just another job, or so I thought. It wasn't natural. And I don't just mean the bizarre way the poor girl had lost her life, half engulfed by a boulder. It was a dreadful feeling, only made worse by the strange fact that a small part of me recognized the girl. It must have fallen out of her hand, the one that was hanging limply above the book. It contained the story of the city of Corona. It was my idea, since I didn't want anyone to suspect anything. And yet, there was nothing wrong with the test. It was supposed to be the biggest one in Sweden, and Isabella had begged her parents to go to the grand opening, but neither of them had been able to due to work. So they called me and asked me to do it for them. It had rained earlier in the morning, so we had been a bit worried, but when we got to the city, there wasn't a cloud in sight. It took us a bit longer than expected to get to the amusement park, since one of the main streets had been closed off for a military parade. It was possible for us to walk to the Red Grove from there. It turned out that a lot of them had taken a ferry down the river that I didn't know about. It had just disappeared. But something, an uneasy feeling I couldn't rationalize, made me doubt that. It carried a smell with it that reminded me of something rotten. It wasn't that easy to see, but she was right. It was a horrible sight, and I'm glad Isabella wasn't tall enough to see over the railing. It was pitch black. It circled the city center a few times and then flew away again. But they only got the same answer over and over again, yelled at them so that it could be heard over the sirens from the emergency alert system that nothing was known and that they needed to return to their homes and listen to the radio for more information. It started during the first night. It was impossible to tell how much crimes were committed, but given what I saw with my own eyes, looting, robberies, and even murders, I feared the rate of crime must have gone up by a lot. It was amazing what we were capable of as a people, and in all my dreadfulness, a feeling of pride grew in my chest. It did rain from time to time, but very few people felt safe drinking the rainwater. It was as if something in the jungle had captured their souls and let their bodies walk back unscathed. It seemed to have spared us the first couple of months, but soon after we got the electricity back, it turned on us. It took a while before I saw it with my own eyes, but seemingly at random, mysterious creatures entered the city. It quickly climbed up against a building, as if it knew exactly what it was doing, and entered one of the windows on the top floor. It was a problem of health. It started out like a fever, and slowly progressed with nightmarish mutations randomly hitting the body. It inspired all of us. And then luck struck again, and yet we survived. It all felt similar to that day 5 years earlier when we had waited for the amusement park to open. But then something that must have been longer than anything we have seen so far came out of the water and swallowed Berto di Espero whole. It was a miracle, to say the least. It happened only a month after the destruction of Berto di Espero. It wasn't exactly the music that drew people to the square, but rather its origin. But there was never any news about us, just as if they had already forgotten about us or never known about us at all. It took a long time, and now I'm getting closer to the present day, but eventually the scientists decided that it would be worthwhile digging a large hole right where the radio waves seemed to sip out of the ground. It was a reasonable assumption given that the only thing coming out of the hole, the radio waves, came from Earth. It made us feel like we had reached the finish line, only to discover that we were unable to cross it. And given the horrible things in our world that could destroy us at any moment, as easily as it is for us to blow out a candle, the small risk of going through the hole seemed to be more than acceptable. And now I'm sitting here, in the room I paid for 5 years ago, writing this down. It's my testimony to what happened to Corona. Finn.
Wow. I tried to follow that and formulate a story, like a coherent story to that. And about there was a couple of moments where it shifted, or things shifted. So the whole time I'm thinking it's still Officer Lexelius talking the entire time.
Oh, of course.
But then the ending, around the ending, is where he just sort of lost me in terms of cohesion. It's the thing crawling out of the crawling up into the apartment, it had a purpose, and it was health problems. So I just imagined instead of the centipede that it was, I just imagined this cloud of this kind of ambiguous cloud of menace just going into the building.
Hmm.
There's
Yeah.
that one part where you're it started raining, but not everyone trusts the drinking water, and then you continued that with they came back from the forest like they had no soul, so it's the people who don't trust the rainwater are these soulless creatures or something.
Yeah, that's what I also thought. Yeah, it's the people who don't touch the rainwater are the ones that are coming out of the jungle and looking like they've gotten their soul removed. Also, because it's vaguely it's earlier described the black mass or something like that, the thing that's black circling across the sky. So I imagine that cloud, that ambiguous cloud that's going into the apartment, was also black, just like a shadow. The shadow of poor health. Of health problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. How the swallowing of the Birdo di Espero was a miracle.
Yeah. Yep. Praise Satan. Yeah. It got a little convoluted by the end with the just isolating these sentences to try and form a story.
Also, pretty much a second rundown for the whole story.
Yeah, basically as well. Yeah,
How many?
A little bit less, a little bit more a little bit more confusing. But yeah,
not much. Aside
thanks.
from the, aside from the perspective skip.
Yes,
the sentences pretty much followed each other and gave context to each other.
For the most part, there were some ones that kind of lost me with their cohesion, but yeah.
And the other funny part was the luck stroke again, and yet we survived.
But luck, we get to survive another day of this hellhole. I wanted to die.
When luck stroke, it's well, luck died, but we survived.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and for those unaware, Mikey does these strings of sentences to highlight all the sentences that start with words that they probably shouldn't, like it's, ands, or buts, because there's always better words to start sentences with.
I also heard a couple of so's in there, but...
like it's, ands, or buts, and others.
Thank you.
Other poor words.
Yes. Isn't the English language grand?
No.
No, ma'am. Almost sounded like Marky Mark from The Happening. No, ma'am.
I don't even think I've seen that.
We need to watch it. It's one of those bad movies that are so bad it might be good.
Nice.
But yeah. So is that what you got for Grammar Inquisition there, Mikey?
Yep.
All right. Gamer.
For grammar, that is up there. Okay, well, my first one is when they discover the child, and it is half the child, a blonde little girl, was fused with the boulder just as if she had been passing through it as a ghost and then suddenly turned into a human before she had time to exit the rock. So when I first read it, I kind of stumbled on it. On second reading, I guess it's okay, but it's a little long-winded, so I still changed it a little bit.
Mhm.
I went, half the child, a blonde little girl, was fused with the boulder, period. What it looked like, comma, was as if she had been passing through as a ghost, comma, then suddenly turned into a human before she had time to exit the rock, period.
Yeah, is that all one sentence, like in the original version?
Yes.
In the original text? Oh my god. Okay, yeah.
With no breaks, no commas throughout the entire thing. Just all the words.
Damn.
And this one's very simple. Which sentence or paragraph is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sixth paragraph starts with an and.
Okay.
I
wasn't aware we were still in Conjunction Junction.
Well, only when it's like a start of a whole paragraph.
Okay.
Like, because if it's a sentence in the middle that starts with the wrong word, yes, I know Mikey's got it. But if it's the start of a paragraph, that's like really stands out to me to the point that I'm going to mention it.
Okay.
Weird. I'm doing grammar on this.
In this Inquisition, yes.
Yeah. This part, yeah, I get it's sort of grammar, sort of not. Either way, there's too much blood. The medic pointed at the ground. What do you mean there's too much blood? I asked. Beneath the boulder, sir, as the medic explained, it is impossible for all that blood to come from a child. So, when the story first showed the boulder in the child, it wasn't described that there was any blood at all. Just that it was creepy, but it was clean. But now all of a sudden there's blood all over the place. So it just kind of showed up out of nowhere.
There's also a section that kind of came up to kind of like piggyback off of this. I was going to leave this in actual thoughts, but I guess this is technically a grammar inquisition as well. On the bloodstained moss beneath the girl, there was a notebook. It must have fallen out of her hand, the one that was hanging limply above the book. I picked it up and opened it. And it keeps going on, and I was like, "Oh God!" I didn't realize that she was lying, that she wasn't lying on the ground, infused to the boulder at the base. This suddenly it changed my view of this little added addition of description of her her hand limply hanging over the book, or above the book, gave me a whole new image of where the girl was on the boulder.
My next one goes into that a bit as well.
Okay.
I saw it another way than you just did because it wasn't explained very well. But either way, as I say that, I'll go into the next one. This is later in the story after they removed her body from the boulder. A day later, we successfully removed the upper body of the girl and brought it back to the morgue where it was examined. So when I read that, I was confused because it said upper body, and I thought she was sliced vertically into the rock, because what it said is what it said is it's the way that it was first described when the cop walked up on it. He said it is as if she was a ghost and she was walking through the rock, and then midway through her stride, she became human and corporeal.
I see what you. Yeah, okay. I
imagined it
that.
like a Two-Face situation coming out of the rock.
I got you. I did not do that at all. Oh, see, and I'm taking based on your new kind of view of the description. I have a completely different description from in my head of what you described, because not Two-Faced. It was the back of her head is still in the rock, or the back of her body is still in the rock, but her
waist
front is
down
exposed.
in the rock.
Yeah. So she's like been like so she like they had to like cut basically they have like half a girl down the middle or like down the like from like the basically they have the front of a girl but not the back when they removed her.
I don't want to say you're wrong, but I believe I'm right.
I don't like
because
it that way.
I know you don't, but because when you for example, you said that you realized that when it said that her hand was hanging limply over the book.
Yeah.
When I read hanging limply over the book, I imagined it as hanging over, like a couple of feet over the book. Not that she's on the ground with her hand dead sitting on top of it directly, that it's hanging above it loosely.
No, that's what I like. That's what I initially just like thought it was, and then the paragraph I read, like the blood's like her like hand limply above the book. I was like, oh shit! So she's like, yeah, she's dangling from the top, from like higher up on the boulder,
but still,
so she's not touching the ground,
but still horizontally laying by.
Yeah, for me, it's I think it should be horizontally. I don't like yeah, I think it just seems weird. Like it still works, I guess. Like in the context of the game, like if she's like no matter what position, but I think like because like they're cutting her out of this rock, for her upper torso, like, and because it's described her upper torso, I think it should have been. They should change the way the way they describe her, like being a ghost, like maybe like diving through the rock and then like becoming a human, to show like that basically her lower torso is still in the rock and her upper torso is exposed.
Yeah, but yes, it does say upper body when it's talking about removing her. So that is, I guess, how it's meant to be. It's just, to me, when it was first described, I imagined it as a vertical cut. Which, in my opinion, is way creepier than around the waist.
It is, because it's so much worse. Because there's so much less to. It's not a clean cut. Like you're not just like cutting her at the torso and like having like her upper body. No, like you have like half a child in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Like, and that's even worse. Yeah, exactly. That's
I don't know
much
what that
worse.
says about my brain, but
well, no, because like it's again, it's way more fucked up. Like you said, like that's what you're trying to invoke in horror, is the fucked upness. So
honestly, part of the reason I thought of that is in Warframe.
Of course.
When you hit an enemy with a slash proc and it kills them, they their body cuts up into different types of pieces. When it is half of a creature, it either bisects them around the waist or vertically goes down their body.
Nice. So, see, and then
go ahead.
Oh no, I was like, and see, here I am thinking of like from like the front and the back have been like removed, like had to be like cut out. I'm from that end. I'm thinking of like the movie 13 Ghosts, where the guy gets like cut like that because of sliding glass window, or because sliding glass doors. Like he just gets like completely like cut in the like down the middle, like from the sides.
Oh, you were thinking front to back.
Yes,
I guess it would be front to back. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
definitely not ass to mouth. Sorry.
No,
that was a Clerks reference. That was the Clerks reference.
Okay. Yes, I remember that.
Yes.
But yes. Also, on this same vein, it's talking about all this blood, but not really where it is or where it's coming from, because it just all of a sudden there's blood all over the ground. But like I said, there was no mention of blood before, so now that there's blood, it's making me think that all the blood is seeping out from the connection between the girl and the rock. Yeah,
that I would take that, or like, because they described like they were trying to like dig out this boulder because the crane wouldn't like pull it up and stuff. Mm-hmm. And like, I think it would be so much more fucked up if like as they're digging like around the rock, the blood just starts seeping up from beneath, like because of and we know where all that blood came from later on. But yeah, no, it's just so fucked up.
Either way, the whole visual of that scene was all messed up, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a little... and this story has a couple of instances where like it kind of has an issue with like continuity of descriptors.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have another one, like another example, but I'll wait. Maybe you'll have it, or I'll be able to do it in my actual thoughts. So
okay. Either way, I'll continue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if you got this one or not, to be honest, so I'll just read it anyways. It was impossible to tell how much crimes were committed. Did you do that one?
No.
Okay, because I feel like it should be. It was impossible to tell how many crimes were committed.
What does
It
it
would be
say
how
before?
much. It was
Oh, how
impossible
much
to tell
crimes.
how much crimes were committed. It should be how much crime or how many crimes.
Yes, yeah, it should be crime or crimes,
Yes.
and with like much crime, much
Very
crime.
well.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Corgi. Or I guess the sheep. I don't know. Like yeah, the wow sheep.
Yeah.
Thanks, wow dog.
But that is the last one because you got my very last one.
Okay.
It was the
In that
fish
case,
one.
yes. So in that case, I shall move on to actual thoughts. I'm going to start with this one here. I'm a police officer working in Calix, a municipality close to where the lost city of Corona is supposed to have been. At that place, there are no signs of the city, only a dense forest. Certain details related to my own family makes me certain this place was indeed real. The entire world just forgot about it. I can't imagine how or why, but it's the only conclusion I've been able to reach. And initially, before I looked up, like, so earlier when I said, like, yeah, like the town, the story was written in 2018, but I was like, I mean, a town with that name, I could understand, I could see why the world would want to forget about it. It was just
I
the
see.
world was just prepping for the future. We're just gonna shove this off our plane of existence. Now I did Google the word corona, and it's actually borrowed from the Latin word corona. So the Swedish word of corona is with a K. The Latin word is with a C, and it means crown or wreath. Also, because we got a place, I had to Google Maps it.
Yeah, I did
Because we got Calix, and holy shit, is Calix like it is rural. Like there's a lot of woods and like a couple of small like cities, small towns and cities around in that area, but it is remote by the looks of Google Map. So
Which makes sense because there's enough foliage around it that you could put a massive city.
now I'll get back to that in a second. I'll touch back on that in a moment. So
Well, just because you talked about Calix, I should bring this up as well.
okay,
When I
sure.
read the name Calix, I was like, that's a sweet town name. Also, do you think it's Calix, Calix, or Calix?
Or Calix.
Yeah, or that.
I kind of like I got my gut feeling is Calix, but I mean I could
Me
be
too.
completely wrong because it's a different language.
Yeah.
It's a Slavic language, so it could be something completely different.
What did you read it as, Mikey?
Hold on. Let me find it here.
He just Googles pronunciation of Calix.
Wow. He would too.
Calyx. Like helix.
Okay, I did just Google it, like Google pronunciation of it. What's the wait? Okay, I saw that's the American pronunciation. What's the British pronunciation?
Mikey, you said
Okay, it's
Helix?
Yeah.
Calyx.
Calyx.
Calix.
Like helix.
Yeah,
Yes. Just with a K.
or like
And
Caleb.
an A.
Yeah, are you saying K or are you saying key?
It
Hey?
says-
Okay, just because like the way because you said like helix, I was like, so are you saying helix?
Well, it's the X part that's like helix.
but so with Calix.
Yeah,
Calyx. Calyx,
and-
like Helix.
yeah,
Like, see what I'm saying?
yeah. Okay, anyway. So I'll move on to the next one here.
Yes.
We soon came upon a huge boulder that had been placed there by the ice sheet that covered Europe during the Ice Age. That is a weirdly specific geological description of just coming upon a boulder in the middle of the woods. I don't know why, but it like really got like I actually like I almost snorted out some tea while I was reading this because it was just so like oddly specific.
Yeah.
You don't need to describe like the geological ancestry of this boulder. Like it could just be a boulder in the middle of the woods. Like they're a diamond. Like they happen.
Nair knows everything about the area.
Apparently, Nair is a hobbyist geologist.
Yeah.
He surveys like property for Calix, for the municipality of Calix.
Or it's just a landmark.
Yeah,
It actually is some random landmark.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So my next one is I don't know what I was expecting from this story, like when it was talking about like a lost city and some of that, but I was not expecting this description to come up. It's like what we found on the other side of the boulder. It wasn't natural. Half the child, a blonde little girl, was fused with the boulder, just as if she had passed through it as a ghost, and then suddenly turned into a human before she had time to exit the rock. Or, as my colleague later remarked, it was as if she had been teleported into the rock. Yeah, I don't know what I was not expecting a teleportation gone wrong like scenario. Like I was actually like, oh, okay, story. We're going this weird, like right off the hop. Also, it doesn't say that she walked like as if she walked as a ghost like through. She like passed through. So that could just, honestly, that's just a little bit to kind of go back to what you're saying earlier. It's a little too vague to like it gives it could be any number of things. Like for
when
somebody.
I think of a ghost moving, I think of a ghost either walking or floating while being vertical, not going Superman horizontal.
And you see, I'm the exact opposite. When I think of a ghost passing through something, it's usually them doing a Superman or swimming through the air.
Yeah.
So on a horizontal tilt. So yeah, no, that it's just a matter of opinion, I guess, on that one.
Yep.
But I'll move on to the next thing here. The girl had written her name on the card as well. When I saw it, my world started spinning. Isabella Lexelius. It said in the girl's childish handwriting. Isn't that your last name, sir? My colleague said. It is. I didn't know what to say or think. Well, do you know her? I don't know. No. I've never seen her before in my entire life. It must be a coincidence. That's a pretty big coincidence, sir. I didn't respond to that. And while I was reading this, so I've actually had a very similar strange situation like this sort of situation happen where like someone dies and happens to have my last name. And
I remember you telling me about that one.
Yeah, not going into any specifics because it was sort of a thing. But yeah, like somebody in the news died, and while I was at the office at my work, my manager asked me if I wanted to like take the day off, like to make for like preparations and stuff. And I had to ask her like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "Don't you check the news? It's like this person with your last name died was killed." I was like, "Oh, because my last name is kind of is sort of unique to a degree." So I went and I had to give my folks a call. It's like, "Hey, do we know this guy?"
Yeah.
Like, do I have to be worried? Do I have to be like, do we know this? Like, is this one of our like distant relatives? And no, it's just he happened to have the same name. As far as we know, he wasn't related to us. But it was like that exact kind of like feeling of like, I don't know. I don't think I know this person. Like, I don't think I'm related to them. I have no idea. So like, I was kind of like I was able to relate to Lex Elias here, to a certain degree.
Wow.
Like that
kind of the complete opposite, honestly.
You're just like, well, what the fuck this guy? What a fucking stupid shit.
Well, not exactly. Sorry, it's not the opposite, because the opposite would be saying that it's totally a coincidence. Whatever, fuck you.
Yeah.
Or no, the opposite. It doesn't matter. Either way. In my example, there are two people in my town that I know of.
Right.
Have
Yes.
the exact same first and last name as me.
Right.
Like, the king only knows how many people in that town just have the same last name as me.
Yeah, like legit. That is fair.
That's
Yeah.
a common bitch, but
Yeah,
it's two people with the exact same total name.
I mean, yeah, your last name, again, I'm not giving specifics, but like your last name is definitely a little bit more common than my last name. So
yes.
Do we start calling you by your middle name then?
Yes, we should refer to him now as In.
Damn it. There's a lot of yellows in my town.
Yeah.
The yellow family is strong.
Yes.
I don't know any of them.
Yes,
No
Cultiste is very different.
Mhm.
It's a very unique name, last name.
Yes.
The Cultistes. Oddly enough, French, not Italian. No. Anyway, but yeah, it was so,
building.
yeah. This lore we're building.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was interesting. That's interesting to have like those two perspectives of like I could really relate to this moment, and then you were just like, nah, it's a coincidence, brah.
Yeah.
Next one I have here.
I mean, it also was a coincidence in your case as well. Just
it was,
different,
yeah,
you know?
but it was still like that feeling of like uncertainty was what I was kind of relating to more.
Yes.
And we already did the whole like cut her down thing, and like I didn't realize that she was like above like the ground.
The orientation of her, yeah.
Yeah, from my like to me, it's even kind of more disturbing because like I'm just imagining this like a person in it's like seeing somebody like who went through a wall and then like they're just like dangling at like along like they're dangling down the side of the wall like from their waist.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Also,
that's how
while
I
you're
was
still on
seeing
that-
it. Yeah.
While you're still on that, I forgot to mention something. Also, I believe something else needs to be explained here in regards to when they remove the body, the upper body. They need to explain if the lower half of the girl is also in the rock or if it's just rock.
Is it just like bloody rock, or is there like actually like organs and stuff like that inside the because like otherwise like that is it's interesting. Yeah, like did they have to like when they removed her, like were they only able to like remove her because they were able to like cut flesh and then like the rest of it like was just sheer rock?
Yeah, I'm assuming so. But it's not said.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't they try to get the whole body if the other part of the body was in there? They would just keep chipping. Because it didn't say, I'm assuming, because I hate doing that, the rest of it is just pure rock.
Yeah, fair.
Which is way weird.
No, yeah, it's definitely again like some clarity in the details could help.
Yes.
And actually, speaking of that might kind of segue into my next thing here. So, below is a transcript of the notebook. I've typed it out here in the hopes that someone will remember the city of Corona, or someone who might have lived in it. Please contact me if you have any information. Okay, so one thing that sort of bugged me here is how the officer is just jumping the gun and assuming that city of Corona exists. Because
he's trying to find out if it does.
I get you, yeah. But I feel like it would be more realistic for him to say this. If you have any information concerning a city called Corona, fictional or otherwise, within the country of Sweden, or any phenomena as described above, or details within the story transcribed below, please contact me.
Yeah, that's.
Like, I feel like that's more. Official. Yeah, I feel like exactly. That's what it didn't feel as like realistic or official for this officer to be like. I mean, and it's kind of weird that an officer is posting this on Reddit Nosleep.
Well, it could also be put out that like the police department has deemed to release this information to the public for hopes of getting more information about this event or phenomena that went on, and then continued with what you said with yours.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. And again, like also on the jibe at Reddit Nosleep. I mean, Reddit Nosleep is supposed to be like spooky stories that are somewhat grounded in reality. So like, it does kind of make sense that this would be on Reddit Nosleep because it's like, as it like a weird phenomena that this guy has encountered, and he's putting it out there on this site. So, but yeah, a little bit more official, a little more officiality would go a long way, I think.
Still, the amount we got did add to the immersion of it.
Yes, that is true.
We have
this started as like it started as like a Swedish noir, like this, like or a police procedural in Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
And then this gonzo situation that's happened, like a survivalist sort of story. And then I have this quote here. The weather was amazing. It had rained earlier in the morning. So we had a bit we had been a bit worried. But when we got to the city, there wasn't a cloud in sight. Okay. I definitely had I shot a person, bang, a glance. Oh, I'm sorry, moment.
Yeah.
We're like, the weather was amazing. It had rained earlier in the morning.
I love rain. Rain is great.
We here in Sweden love rain.
Yes.
Yeah, no, like, just like, wow. Yeah, definitely just like read it too, like read into things too early with that one.
Told me you
I
stopped
did.
and gathered your thoughts before continuing.
Yes.
I still did that in this. I did not do notes paragraph by paragraph like I said I was going to do.
Good.
That's fine. Really good. You like see me in pain, don't you?
Yes.
Okay. Well, at least you didn't.
Yes. Well, here, I'll make it up to you in a second. To avoid the parade, we had to take a bus to the city center, the Freya Square. And from there, we had to take the subway to the yellow neutral business cluster, the tallest skyscraper in Sweden. It was possible for us to walk to the Red Grove from there. So at this point in the story, I'm just like, wait a minute. Corona, a word that means crown. An apparently large city in the middle of the Swedish north with some intense infrastructure, like the largest skyscraper in Sweden, a subway system, and a yellow neutral business cluster. And there's several celebratory activities going on in the city. And the city, a city in which no longer exists from reality. Is Corona Carcosa? Is the Notebook a vector for the King in Yellow?
I mean, what else could it be?
Yeah, like, I kind of want to run a Swedish agency version of Delta Green now. Like, what do the Swedes use? Like, what organization do the Swedes have that to look into like weird, fucked up, like a Lovecraftian horror? Like, yeah, and just have like one of the players randomly selected to be related to the fused body that is found, like just to add that extra little level of mindfuck. Because that's very much in line with like a Carcosa scenario. Like, if you've ever heard of of the scenario of the Night Floors, there's a particular scene where like a person finds a gold or finds a golden goldfish, like a little statuary of a goldfish, and they like look at it and they like, yeah, it's complete gold, it's like solid gold, and then they put it in their pocket, and then like, hey, and then, like one of the other people notices, like, hey, what'd you find there? It's like, oh, I found a goldfish, like made of gold, and they pull it out, and it's a dead limped goldfish, like an actual goldfish.
Oh,
yeah, like it's that sort of like mindfuckery that that Carcosa does, because it's breaking down your conventional reality. So
it's substituting it with its own.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, yeah. What's that actual line? It's like I
reject your reality and substitute my own.
Yeah, it's rejecting common reality or like human reality and substitutes its own reality. But yeah, no, it's just that was the first thing I like. You know, like at a certain point I got to like, it's like, are we just in Carcosa? Like, has this city just been like is the city just like an analog for Carcosa, and like the ocean is actually just Lake Holly? Like, is that even like that giant bird that is seen like flying overhead, like, and just kind of like roaming around, and like it's described as like a bird-like thing, and it's like this black enormous bird. It could just as easily be like a byakuya, which are kind of described as like monstrous insectile bird creatures. And are common servitors, is a common servitor species to the King in Yellow, at least in certain mythos circles. So,
like this one.
Yeah. And then another one I had here is this quote here. "Oh my God," a woman said, and pointed towards the skyscrapers. "The top of the building is gone." It wasn't that easy to see, but she was right. So I think what would be really cool or really interesting is if there were some oparts in the regular world forest, and oparts are basically out of place artifacts. So like deeper in the woods from where Isabella's body was found, like maybe there's like a half buried helicopter rotor or even like the top of a skyscraper that's just like in the ground and like covered up by like foliage and like nature because it's been like 5 years since this event happened apparently.
Yeah.
So and again it's far enough out in the wilderness, like it's in the woods around Calix municipality. So like I could definitely see like there might have been like some people 5 years ago that like heard like a weird noise when the entire city just like ceased to exist in a reality, and like but maybe no one like maybe someone didn't no one went to investigate it. So like it's plausible that like yeah this skyscraper just came crashing down out of the sky and no one saw it because it was so far out in the wilderness.
Or just all of a sudden glitched into the ground.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, could have even just been like sliced in and it's like at the ground level. And then the nature just took its course and basically just covered over it for 5 years. Or again, like it just suddenly there's just like one day there wasn't a ruin there; it was just normal forest, and then another like the next day, like overnight, suddenly there's this piece of building, this like piece of skyscraper, like rooftop that has always been there. We've always been in Carcosa, sort of situation. Like it's just like that idea that like something wasn't there before, but now it's always been there. Like that sort of like mind fuck.
I think the opposite is what's going on with the town itself. Like the town was always actually there, but as soon as it went away, it did a fucking neuralizer to the world to forget that it was even there in the first place.
Yeah, that could be. Well, I think but like also like the terrain changed as well, like because like suddenly like where the city was, there's now forest.
Yes.
But like the forest isn't new. The forest has always been there, but it's
of course because neuralizer, it's always been there.
Yeah, basically it neuralized reality itself, so that like suddenly there's always been a forest here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then speaking of the city and its population specifically, we get this quote. I never saw anything of what happened that night, but it changed the population. More than 2 million people forever. Great Odin's Raven! That many people? Lulia.
Big ass city.
And I apologize for probably getting this name wrong, but Lulia, Norrbotten County's largest city, to which Calix and I'm assuming Corona at one point is located, only has a population of over 77,000 people. Sweden's largest population center, Stockholm, its capital, only has a population of just over 1.6 million people. I can
had the biggest skyscrapers in all of Sweden. Remember?
Yeah, they did say that. Yeah, it has a subway system and some of that. But like, look where it is located. Like, there's no reasonable way why that would have like that much infrastructure out in the middle of nowhere, unless it was sorry.
You say that, but where's Las Vegas? It's out in the middle of buttfuck nowhere.
Yeah, but
in the middle of a desert, there's a giant city.
That is true. Well, the reason why is because so they could escape. So the mob could escape tax evasion and stuff like that. The reason why Las Vegas exists and why there's so many casinos and stuff is because of the mob.
Wow, I was not aware.
Because of the mafia. Like it's basically a tax. Well, I think I'm pretty sure like there was some like. It was cheaper land, and like they decided like it's like no, we're gonna build an empire out here in the desert. I think I could be misinformed, or I could be like wrong in some aspects of that, but like I know the mafia had a huge hand in the popularity of Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless, back to this. Yeah, like the city's the country's largest population center isn't even 2 million. So again, like this is the capital that time forgot. Apparently,
yes, exactly. That might actually be it. Like in its reality, it is the capital.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like it's, and actually, I've had ideas and written stories like around about this kind of idea of like a city that like a large city like I think I wanted to run a game like a game scenario where like people discover like a few remnants of something that shouldn't have been there, but it turns out like if you go back farther enough in like you find a few documents, like a few sparse documents that talk about a sister city to Toronto that doesn't exist anywhere else in records or anything like that.
Oh.
So it's definitely an idea that I like, that I gravitate towards. So I'm all for it. But it's just like 2 million people. This country doesn't even this country's like major population center isn't even 2 million.
Yep, literally just half their population for the entire country is just gone.
Yeah. And while we're on like that kind of strangeness, we get to this. The scientists that had been working at the university at the time of the event couldn't figure out what had happened. But with the help of hundreds of citizens, they managed to build a small nuclear power plant that could return electricity to the city. I'm just like, wow, that is industrious. Like,
Yeah.
is the University of Corona basically Swedish Miskatonic University? Like, just fringe science is just like, we have the technology, we can build we can build a nuclear power plant. Like fuck any other kind of like conventional generator. No, we're gonna build. We've been working. Some of our students have been building a small nuclear reactor.
They're scientists. That means they can make anything.
Clearly, yes.
They have unlimited technical knowledge.
Yeah. And then so way back when in our discussion today, I mentioned about the set versus sat, like where the sun sat in the north or set in the north.
Mm.
And I said I'd bring that back up, and I'm bringing it back up now with this quote. We all stared at the horizon as the boat, named Berto de Espero, turned into a small dot against the setting sun. So I have a question. It said earlier that the sun the sun in this new dimension or reality sets in the north rather than in the west, or sat in the north rather than the west, and that the ocean is in the east, or is in the east of the city. So how is the ship sailing in the sunset? Are people like onshore looking to the north as it goes further out? Like, it might be a continuity issue, because like, how are they seeing the ship right off into the sunset, basically? If the sunset is in the north and the ocean is to the east.
Yep.
Like, right? Like, are they all like on the coastline, like on that side of the city, like looking north to see the city go in? Like, that's possible, I guess, but it might be a continuity issue, or it's fucking Carcosa and shit can just be cray. So
yeah,
it was a bit of a continuity issue I had when I came across this. Sort of like similar to the blood issue
against the setting sun, unless it just means like the sun's setting like to the north, so it's setting over there, but they're traveling over in that direction.
No, I don't think it is.
Know. Try.
Good try though.
Yeah.
And then we have the bit about the people like congregating because of the radio signal and stuff like that. So, although the thing that made us all go silent and become totally focused was when the host said something. Usually, they only spoke about the music they were broadcasting, completely unaware that an entire city full of people were listening to them almost religiously. But on rare occasions, they talked about the world outside. So I kind of want to run I kind of want to see or run a weird apocalypse game, or even like write a YA novel written in this setting of like the people who are just trying to survive in this weird fucked up reality that their city has been transplanted to, and like maybe even have it like be a couple of generations down the road. So like now there's like a religion that's popped up around synthwave.
Yeah.
Like the synthwave DJ as their god. Yes, synthesis. Yes. But yeah, I was just like, kind of like as the story, like there's a lot of world building around this like this dimension that the city of Corona has found itself in, and like I think it could be really explored a lot in like a game scenario, or even just like in other stories.
Well, yeah, like 5 years worth of stuff has already happened in this story, and they're
Like, yeah.
still in there, and they can't leave.
Yeah, 5 years worth of stuff, and probably at this point under 2 million people, since people died and like were killed off and stuff like that. But
There's got to be under half
there,
of them now.
There are other people that were I would assume that were writing down like their stories or their experiences. Like it's not just Halana. Yeah. Halana's just the one that got out. So, yeah. And then we have this one here. The camera never recorded anything other than darkness on what was assumed to be the other side. But since it continued to work until the rope was pulled back, this didn't seem to be such a big deal, or to be such a big problem. After all, some technical issues were expected under the circumstances. I mean, it could just be in space. Or some kind of void on the other side, like, or maybe a really deep, dark cave system on the Earth side of the portal. Like, the camera, even if the camera has like a light or something like that, if it's still seeing darkness, like, I would not immediately assume like we should send people through now. Like, it's safe, send them through. It's worth the risks. It's like you could still be getting a radio signal from Earth if you're in orbit.
Yeah.
And like cameras wouldn't necessarily pick up like stars and stuff like that in space. Like if you look at imagery from space, you rarely actually, unless they like have like special like cameras and stuff, you rarely actually see the stars with cameras.
The way I saw that is like it went through the portal, but because that portal is basically into another reality, that camera isn't connected to their screens anymore because that camera is in a different reality.
Well, it did say that they were still able to get signal from the camera, but it just showed darkness.
Which kind of sounds like they're not truly getting the signal anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It gets even worse because at least my comments and quotes get a little bit worse as it goes. Because when the mom one side decides to send their son down.
Yeah.
After the rope was pulled back, the mother waited and waited for her son to report. However, he never did. For weeks, the mother sat at the edge of the hole, under merciless heat and under pouring rain, calling her son over and over again with her walkie-talkie. And to this, I'm just like, meanwhile, the boy's frozen, oxygen-deprived body floats but meters away from the portal. It's almost like more testing should have been conducted.
Yeah.
Like one camera does not give you guys like reason to go into human testing.
I think I know why it's all black in there though.
Oh yeah?
Because it's in the middle of a fucking boulder.
Yes.
It has to you have to keep feeding it more and more until it actually pops out the side of the boulder.
And if you pull back, it cuts it off and then suddenly you're infused in the boulder.
Yep.
Oh man, that's fucked up.
Because there ain't no light inside the rock of a boulder.
Yeah. That's 100%. You nailed it. It's just that boulder. Yeah, it's the transitionary period of like phasing between like that. The reason why you're seeing darkness is because you're phasing through like solid matter.
Yeah.
Oh god, that's actually what happens in My Hero Academia. There's a character whose quirk is phasing, and he can't see when he's phasing. He can't see whatsoever, and he actually goes into if he sinks down into the earth. He is while he's phased, he is in complete he's in complete sensory deprivation. Like he can't hear, he can't see, he can't smell or anything because he's within the matter, right? So it would basically be that feeling. It would be just be complete darkness.
Mm-hmm. How does he get out when he's under there?
He is able to like kind of like I think move through it, but it's like not great. And like the reason why and most of the time when he does it, like his clothes don't transition through as well, so he's just completely naked when he's phasing through solid matter, except for his super suit, which has been fabricated from hair, has been fabricated using his own like skin and hair material.
Gross.
Yeah. Because it's just him that phases through, so they've had to make like created basically a a him costume.
The grossest super suit ever.
Yes. Like I think like it's really like, and again they use like fabricating technology to like basically fabricate the material based on the samples they have, but it's still gross because it's still technically his suit. Like it's
So it
it's his
doesn't
birth
look
suit.
like skin and hair, but it is skin and hair.
Yeah, when you get down to it, it's technically manufactured skin and hair from him. So it's he's literally wearing his birthday suit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I digress. Yeah, like that's basically what's going. I think you nailed it on like right there. Like it's not space. Sorry, it's not space. It's just, or it's not some deep dark cavern. It's just the phasing through a solid mass.
And since we're talking about the boulder, what if the city is inside the boulder?
Yep. That was another thing I was thinking about too.
Holy shit.
Like
the
when,
entire
when they were inside, then all of a sudden the skyscraper gets cut off. That's basically like them being put inside the boulder. But like the shape, the model size of their town was too tall, so like the top of that part got cut off. So maybe behind the boulder there's like a small like model scale of the top of a skyscraper that's just on the ground behind it.
Oh my god, that'd be so fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or just like a little like, or yeah, like it's been 5 years, so like that stuff probably would have been like buried under like foliage or like just like debris on the ground, or been like taken by animals or something like that maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, that's fucked up. Yeah, they just shrank, and they just became a snow globe.
Yeah.
A dimensional snow globe. Wow.
Yeah, and then the body parts of the girl are actually like super small, like a small skeletal in this bone or in the stone when they chip it away.
Yeah, so this stone itself is the vector. Like this boulder is actually like the portal. Is like it's a keystone. it's an anchoring system for a portal, or like for this other reality. Wow. But moving, and that's what the material, the bedrock is when they go down to the hole and stuff like that. That's the bedrock is just like part of the boulder.
Mm-hmm.
Hence why they can't break through it, because they're no bigger than models, so they can't break through the rock. Wow. But I'll digress and go to the next one here. Since no other radio waves had been picked up other than synthwave mix, it was possible that other radio waves simply couldn't enter into our world for some reason. I always knew synthwave was the work of mad eldritch gods, or was that vaporwave and dark ambient? Yeah, no, it's just like, yeah. So I was still on my whole thing of like, this is Carcosa, so it's like, yep, synthwave. It's what elder gods crave. It's the music of the spheres.
Yep.
So, and my last one is basically the hole was guarded by police, but most of the police shared the city's collective opinion that the hole was the only way out. Not for any of the adults, but for our children. And I was like, well, now we know where all that blood from underneath the boulder came from. That has another level. That is a next level, like tragic, like creepiness to it, where it's like, especially when you like after like earlier, like we have that mystery, like where'd all this blood come from, and then we get the answer at the end of the story. That's where all that blood came from. It's from all those children that didn't quite phase through the boulder, so their blood just like seeping through the boulder itself.
Yeah, I kind of wish they examined the blood more and determined that it seems like it's coming from like random cracks and holes along the boulder, so it's like seeping out from the inside specifically.
Yeah, for sure.
Like the rock itself was bleeding.
Yeah. And or even if like they tested like a bunch of the blood and like it's from like multiple different families like across Sweden. Like so again, showing that it's different people in this blood's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would have been really gross, but really creepy and effective. So, but that is my actual thoughts. So, Mikey, D stands for evil.
So this is actually a pretty sad story.
Yeah.
about a police officer who ends up divorcing his wife because something is missing.
Fuck! Holy shit!
Huh?
Oh my no, 'cause- so like that's the like so the reason why in this in the current reality, in the current timeline, why he divorced his wife and like they never they never they didn't they couldn't the reason they broke up was they couldn't stay together and whatnot is because they subconsciously couldn't reconcile their missing daughter that no longer exists in reality. Like they
Oh,
had this they
she
had
was
this they had
previously
like
lost.
no like she was like so I think what my Mikey is trying to get at is that the reason they divorced was because there was this emotional hole missing in their lives that they couldn't reconcile, and they thought it was because they weren't compatible, so that's why they separated, why they divorced. But it's because like their child was removed from reality, like and reality made them forget about her, but they still have like some of the emotional baggage of once having a child.
Because he did say like 5 years ago or something he was married, but he didn't have a kid with her.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Fuck, that is so much
100%
more.
confirmed.
Yeah, and it's even more tragic because like the aunt who's still in the other world, like is just like there's the sadness of like we get the ending bit of like she's hopeful that that Isabella will find her dad. She just has this feeling that she'll find her dad, and she does, but it's also like really tragic because we know what the outcome of we know what happens to Isabella throughout the story, and then. Yeah, that is even like that's a next level shit there, Mikey. Shit. Like
Yeah, well done.
damn. Yeah.
There you go.
There. I was like, is this gonna catch on? Is this gonna pick up the golf clap?
Yeah. So that was my first one here they didn't have. And my next one, well, they seem to have some super scientists
Yeah,
in
they really
this
do.
city. So I'm wondering if this town was sort of like a Eureka town,
or like the Mist, like the town in the Mist, where like they're right next to the to Project Arrowhead, which is where the Mist, like basically, the like a portal, like they're working on like some kind of dimensional technology, and like a portal opens up.
Mm.
Or are you thinking like well, yeah. Sorry, what were you thinking with Eureka?
Well, there's a TV show called Eureka where there's a town and there's scientists and they do crazy stuff in the town.
It's like, yeah, is it like
Yeah.
signed like weird anomaly or experiment gone wrong of the week, basically?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So basically, there was a scientist there that figured out how to jump realities, and he did it. But because he jumped realities, he didn't remember that he did it or how to do it.
Or he was. It is Swedish Miskatonic, and he was studying this strange stone, this boulder that had been recovered from some ancient dig site, and it's actually like an eldritch entity. Like it's actually like a some kind of reality stone, like reality mineral that like
That goes into
is
the
like
Infinity Gauntlet.
yeah, basically yeah. It at the heart of it is the reality stone from Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was trying to get a sample, and he like tapped on it, and it immediately like just like shoomp, like the entire city just got like absorbed into it, and then it was transplanted back into our world. Like it was all that was remained of the city of Corona in our world.
Surprisingly plausible.
Yeah, very possible.
And that's the end of my actual thoughts.
Wow. So I gotta commend you. Like you've outdone yourself this week. Not one, but two. Really, like it's like really like mind bending. Like this makes it better.
Yeah, the first one was awesome. Specifically, or not specifically, especially.
Yeah. Like fuck. Like it just pulls at my heartstrings. Damn you.
Because like it also gives a reason that we hear the backstory of this cop.
Yeah, and like why? Like yeah, like he finds out. Like
why
yeah,
is
it's
that
like
important?
why is it important that his wife and him divorced? And so I was like, I guess because he didn't have a child or something, like the kind of cement that idea, like he didn't have a child because reality removed her from them.
Yeah.
And it's even more like sad when you think it was like, what if it's the reason, because that's the reason why they divorced, was because, and why they no longer get along is because their child was removed from reality and them. So
I kind of wish somewhere in the story, like I guess at the end or something, the cop chimes in somehow, basically saying, "I've always liked the name Isabella," as like a way to hint at it.
Yeah.
That if he did have a kid, he would have named her Isabella.
Yeah, that would be really that'd be a nice little touch.
I don't know how you would say it naturally, though.
Yeah, if this was like a
talking to
movie
the
or something
cop
like that,
way before all the journals, so you can't say it then.
yeah, and you can't really, like, I don't think you could, like, he's already kind of given his
Spiel.
his spiel like right before the transcript, and then he's just sharing the transcript. So like, yeah, it would really make sense to have the ending, though. It would be a nice touch. I just don't know how you'd execute it.
Yeah. Unless he does like a different type of spiel at the end as well. But yeah.
Okay, I thought for sure you were going to take the low-hanging fruit, and it's like, well, I mean, it could be like a 9mm or a guillotine to properly execute him, or to properly execute it.
Could have, but didn't.
Yes. However, now that I've done that, I've doomed myself.
A little bit.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay, so my go?
Yep, I believe so.
Yep.
I chimed in on my first one, so my second one is basically just me saying I like the way that the like fear and confusion is described about the girl in the boulder. It's like basically just a guy puked when he saw it.
Yeah.
So as soon as that happened, I was expecting it to be like absolute gore porn on the other side. Like, oh god, here comes the gore porn description. But
it
was just half of a girl. I was pleasantly surprised. It was zero gore, all fear.
Pleasantly surprised, and also it's so much worse.
Yeah,
because it's like I can handle like movies and stuff like have made me like be able to handle like awful like scenes of like viscera and stuff like that. But like a girl with her cold dead eyes still open, like half infused in a boulder and dead from that. Like that's so much worse than any kind of like gory, messy viscera.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up.
It's like clean and creepy.
That being said, we find out it's not actually just clean and all fear because it is covered in blood everywhere.
Well, yeah, because there's blood
from the get-go. Because why would it?
Yeah, it really should have like said that like the blood was seeping out as soon as they started like interacting with the dirt around the boulder.
Yeah, I feel like when I rounded that corner, there'd be two things I would notice: the girl that's sticking out of the boulder and the huge amount of blood everywhere.
The lake of blood on the other side of which this is on a shoreline of.
Oh god, it might be seeping out of the water then.
Oh god. Well, I mean, they're far enough away from the from any river or something like that, or from. I say that as if I know exactly where this is in near Calix.
Yeah, you don't.
No, but but I don't think it would be that. I don't think it would be. It's probably going into the water table at the very least.
Maybe.
Their water table is fueled by the souls of the damned.
I'm sure they'll be fine.
Yeah.
Moving on, though. I've kind of chimed in on this, but him saying below is a transcript of the notebook. I typed it out here and hope that someone will remember, blah, 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 blah. I'm giving it good immersion points on that, although our combined description of how this spiel should be is way better.
Yeah.
Like, it has to sound more official, like it's coming from a police officer writing it down as protocol would say in this weird situation.
Or just like how he'd be used to. Yeah, sorry.
Or what?
I was just saying, or just like how he would be used to doing this kind of protocol. Like, because this could even be like, hey, so I'm posting this on this site because like we're at our wit's end, we don't know what the hell's going on, and like my boss is this is over my boss's head. Like I'm not I'm posting this online on this website to in the hopes that somebody might be able to might know something about it. But like the way he writes it, like the way he would do it would still be the way he like procedure would dictate, because that's how like they're so ingrained in there in the way you write these kind of things, right?
For sure.
Like basically the bureaucracy would still be there because that's like how you live your life and how you work. So
Like if you removed all the stuff about him being a cop,
Mhm.
you would believe he's just a guy. Like he's just a dude that went out there with someone else.
yeah, he was one of the
Went out there with a
Romanian
medic.
blueberry pickers.
Yeah. Like it would be the exact same story if he was or wasn't a cop.
Yeah.
So I do believe it needs to be changed more to make him more copy.
Yeah.
And the first line of the notebook was confusing. My name is Helena Fredrickson. 5 years ago, I was a different person. I was confused what that meant because I didn't know. Like, I took that as
You didn't know what was about to happen. Like, yeah.
well, because so far we have the cop, we have Isabella Lexilius, and then
Yeah.
you open up her journal and it says, "My name is Helena Fredrickson."
Yeah.
So it's
Where
she says 5 years ago I was a different person.
I was
sounds
Elizabeth
like 5 years
Lexilius.
ago she was Elizabeth
Yeah.
Lexilius. Yes,
But
that was
no,
my
she
confusion.
yeah, and as you read the story, you find out the reason why she said that was because like she's a survivor. Like now, she's been changed by her surviving this whole in this whole situation.
Yeah, in
That's why
hindsight,
she
I
said
understand
that.
it.
Yeah.
It's just in the
Yeah.
moment, I was thinking that there was going to be some weird personality swap in the story.
I gotcha. Yeah.
Like she's actually Isabella Lexilius in regards to like blood and all that, but through whatever the fuck happens in the story, a different personality takes over her body. That was my confusion because I thought that the journal was the little girl's journal. But of course, we know what happened. Moving on. Is this still going? No one's saying anything.
Yeah. No, I just
Okay.
my silence was affirmative.
Okay, fine. Then I read the event, as we have come to call it, occurred on July 9th, 2013. I was the only visiting Corona over the day to take my niece, Isabella, to the grand opening of the Red Grove, the city's new amusement park. It was supposed to be the biggest one in Sweden. So, was I the only one that changed my in-head voice to Swedish accent from that point forward after reading this?
I
like-
didn't. So yeah, I think
The rest of it was all in heavy Swedish accents.
so by way of the Swedish cook from like Morgy.
It wasn't hurdy-gurdy nerd. No, not that heavy.
Wow. Yeah. Also, that's stereotypical. I know,
Yeah.
but it's like, yeah, it's. I honestly didn't at all. Like, I read it as normal.
Yeah. Well, you say that normal as in normal.
I also
to you.
read it. I also like actually read most of this out loud. Like, I didn't read it in my head as much. So
Oh, really?
yeah. Or I found myself. It was easier to read it like aloud while I was like going over it. So
Oh, that's cool.
Hmm.
For me, I was reading this while half working on setting up a map for Mass Effect related things with Mass Effect music going in the background.
oh
So
god.
like it actually worked kind of well. Like the music while reading this. It's like this
Oh, like-
huge like
yeah.
this city with weird shit going on, and they're like there's this epic music in the background. It actually kind
Yeah,
of
it's the Reaper music. Bum, bum, bum,
Yeah.
bum, bum.
It was Andromeda music, but yes.
Okay, yeah. I haven't checked. I gotta listen to the Andromeda soundtrack. I've only listened to a few songs from that.
It's good.
Oh, actually, slightly regardless. I mean, it's not the same country, but like the end credit music is from, I believe, an Icelandic artist.
Oh, is it?
Oh, she's actually a Norwegian. Sorry, she's a Norwegian singer.
Oh, okay.
So even closer to Sweden because it's like part of the Nordic, like those Nordic countries. A little interesting tidbit for Mass Effect Andromeda is that the end credit music was by a Norwegian singer named Aurora. So not that it has anything to do with what we're talking about.
Not at
Story.
all.
And I
can move on
apologize
now.
for bringing it up. Yes.
Yeah, then they get to the town and they say they get to Fraser Square and they take their way to the subway to the yellow.
Wait.
What?
Did you just call it Freya?
don't fucking know how to pronounce
it's
things.
Freya. It's literally the goddess of it's the Norse goddess Freya.
Dude, there's a fucking J in it. Every time I
It's
see
okay.
Freya's name in any sort of game, it does not have a J.
Because
Every single time I've seen
that's
it,
because
the one time I've
that's
seen it.
the Anglican it's because you're seeing it through the anglicized version of it, but like the Norse version has a J because they use J like an H, so it's like sort of like Freya, not Phrygia.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's fine. I don't know all languages. I don't know.
I
all
understand.
Things.
Mhm.
Don't need to jump down my fucking throat.
I'm sorry, knee-jerk reaction.
God, I'm not even gonna do that one now. I'm moving on.
All right, fine.
No, I'm gonna do that one. Basically, when they got there, I thought that this was just gonna be like a tiny little hick town that disappeared, so it's like half acceptable that people just forgot it was a thing. But no, it was a massive freaking town. Like,
Yeah, no, it's 2 million people. That's like largest population center in all of Sweden.
Indeed. I'll move on. We looked at the balloon as it rose up into the air and drifted away. Soon, it was but a red dot in the vast blue sky. Then suddenly, it vanished. Where'd it go? Isabella said. I couldn't explain it. It had just disappeared. I don't know. I said, maybe it popped. To me, that's like cool as heck. It sets things up. It makes you wonder, but it doesn't really show you a damn thing.
Yeah.
Which is good. It's very subtle.
I find that happened a lot in the story too.
Yes.
Like they're just like little. They were showing. They weren't telling specifically.
Mm-hmm. And then they get on the boat, and she remarks, "They're clearly escaping from something, but I couldn't see what it was." Like again, that's making you wonder what the heck's going on, and it's telling you what's happening, but it's not showing you everything right away.
Yeah.
So it's leaving you in wonder.
Yeah, it's because this is a first-hand account from the person who's writing the story. Like they are, but so they don't have all the answers. They're on omnipresent narrator, so like they just know what they experienced, which is really cool from an immersion level.
Yeah, but the writer didn't fall in the trap of just knowing everything, even though the writer only has two eyes.
Yes.
Yes. And then more and more reports came in. And even though it was impossible to tell rumors from facts, they're all telling the same story. The entire world around the city has been replaced in an instance. The city was the same, but the sky above it wasn't. Oh my god, it's Myth's End.
yeah. To pull from our sister podcast, it does kind of seem a lot like the one campaign we did in Pathfinder, where
just
like
a teleporting town.
Yeah, teleporting town through time and space.
On a much smaller scale, too.
Yeah. We're just talking about like a town of like maybe a couple hundred people, like maybe a couple hundred, like
the town size that I thought this was going to be.
Yeah, instead of like a megalopolis.
Mm-hmm. And then,
still like floors me 2 million people.
Yeah, it's a lot of peoples. But we'll move on. Mm-hmm. We're talking about move on to like the hole and putting cameras through it. This meant that it was possible that whoever entered the hole would be cut off as well. However, this problem was solved pretty soon by tying a camera to the rope connected to a screen above ground. It was discovered that the rope was only cut off when pulled back. So for me, as soon as I read that, I'm like, damn it, spoilers! Now I know exactly how Isabella dies. She gets lowered in as shit is going down up top. Helena is lowering her down probably, and just as Isabella gets halfway through the portal, Helena gets grabbed, yanking Isabella and cutting her in half.
Fuck.
And it does not say that.
It doesn't say that.
However, it can't say what happens because she finished her journal, gave it to Isabella, and then they went out.
Yep. So
in my head canon, that's exactly what happened.
That is, yeah. And again, like, I don't know if you like that or not, but like I love this because it's like it's that kind of horror where like we know the outcome and we're just watching the person walk, like we're watching the person completely unaware of what's about to transpire to them. And like basically watching them walk into their doom, like as they are like narrating through like a journal or something like that. It's like, oh shit. Like, cause we've already seen like their dead body, like their horribly massacred body. And now we're reading the journal that like showing all their hopes and dreams. And then like the last, like like, wow, I really hope I don't get like slaughtered by some madman. Meanwhile, we're currently going over the investigation scene of the mass murder that happened.
Yeah, we stumbled onto a secret in a video game, and we're reading the codex entry that's connected.
Yeah, yeah, we're checking out the terminal that's
Yes.
that's surrounding this like a horrible like situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that line was many paragraphs before the end, so I kind of felt it was sort of spoilers, but I was also interested if they were going to show what happened, but I'm glad they didn't, because if they did, it wouldn't have made sense.
Yes.
Then, segue, we get on to the ending, and this is what I wrote here. Doesn't say what happened, but I hold my previous assumption true, as I already said. Or like basically all the kids have phased into the rock, and that's why there's all this blood, more than she could have. And she was just lucky enough to like get lowered down enough to be external of the rock before basically getting telefragged where she is.
Basically, just get. I think wouldn't all the other kids have been telefragged because like they were just paced basically.
Yeah, exactly. That is the term of telefragging. Back in my day, playing Unreal Tournament on the PC, telefragging is shooting your teleportation device on the ground and then teleporting there as soon as a player is also standing there. You occupy the same place and you burst out from within them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of the same thing.
Yeah. It was just a lot more liquidy in this case because there's no bones or body parts. It's just blood.
And there's no air to make room for the body parts to go in different locations.
Yeah, this I think it would be so much cooler if like the rock was bleeding, like, and that's where like all the blood was coming from, was to kind of like again hint more that it's coming from within the rock itself.
Yeah, in my head, the rock is bleeding from all the cracks in the rock for sure.
Yeah, because it's
probably
just like
if they kept feeding children to the portal, eventually the rock might blow up just from all the internal pressure.
Yeah. Oh man. That's for another story where we find like it's a couple of like generations in the other world, and they've like they just do like it's basically become like sort of an accidental blood sacrifice to the portal.
Mm-hmm.
Like one day it'll widen if we just send more enough children in, we'll widen it more.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if they would actually stop having kids in that world.
It's
because they basically all believe that this is not a place for children, so they would probably just give up on having kids now.
That is Helena saying that. Now, I think with 2 million people, or even like 1 million people in the city, I think there would be a group of them that were like, no, like this is our life now. We might as well just try and like let's try and live here. Like, and there's also like the people that are mutated, the mutations, like that are able to like. Basically they're immunized to this dimension, so they're going to probably have offspring.
Their offspring is probably going to stay though.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like they're probably because they're going to become like just like they're probably going to be fine. So like I think there's probably definitely a divisive situation in that city where like some people are like, no, this is no place to raise children, and the other one's like, listen, we're stuck here. Like, let's try and make the best of it. Like. Let's try and live here.
Because you don't really have a choice.
Yeah. Okay. So if that's it then. We'll move on to final thoughts. I really dig the weird horror world of Corona. Like the world that Corona was teleported to. Like there's a lot of world building in this, even though it's like some of it's kind of skimmed. Like the 5 years is kind of skimmed through the story, but like honestly. We get enough that it makes it really cool and creepy, like the weird world that they have. There's also a bit of a lot of tragedy mixed in with this horror, because of like the outcome of the children as they were being fed into this portal, like because their parents were desperate to like have them try and survive or like get back to the real world, and even like again Isabella's fate. And it's even amplified even more for me because of what Mikey said earlier, where like. It's like the whole reason why like in the current timeline that like Isabella's parents divorced was because she had been removed from reality, and there's this like emotional hole in their lives.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah, that was chef's kiss. Like cherry on top of the story for me. So, and there's also this like there's still a measure of mystery and wonder to the story that just gets my mind buzzing. Like, what the fuck happened here? Like, and the whole story is kind of set up like that. Like the officer is going out, is trying to like basically use the internet, like crowdsourcing, to try and find an answer to what the fuck happened and like what's going on. And to me, that just gets my mind going. I like to speculate and wonder, and like, yeah, I would absolutely use this idea for a game scenario as well. So yeah, I'm recommending this story. I liked it. So Mikey, D stands for evil.
Well, it was interesting. I would have liked a couple more cherries, but that's just me being overly picky.
Mikey, our constant Disney princess, you must have more.
Like the top of the skyscraper. Where did that end up?
That is true.
I told you, there's a model behind it. They never found it. It was overgrown.
Yeah.
It's only a model.
Yeah. But yeah, the fact that this story is really, really sad when you actually dig into it. And the sort of suddenly in an alternate reality is interesting, because it's not immediate that they realize they're in an alternate reality. It's just, oh, something's different. And
Yeah.
it takes them a while to realize just how different it is.
Yeah. It'd be really interesting, like how like that changed, because like the sun just happened to be in the right position, in both dimensions. Like maybe that was it. Like maybe like the stars were aligned. The star being the sun was aligned enough, like properly, that it like was able to like phase the entire city into this other reality, where like the sun was going like east to west, and then suddenly like it hit the spot where it would intersect with the south to north sun of the other dimension, and then suddenly it just like, I could just imagine seeing that in like kind of fast, like slightly like sped up speed, where you just see the sun like going across the sky and then just suddenly turn on a dime.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
So as it stands, I do like alternate reality stories just because it allows for more creativity and thinking outside the box. So I'm going to give this a recommendation.
Cool. And next up we have Gamer.
Well, for me, it was a long read, but I enjoyed the read, honestly. It told a lot of what was going on without giving every little secret away. And you see how the town broke apart and then banded back together again, and all their attempts to escape. So that was great. They weren't from Derpland, which was nice. They didn't do too many derpy things. They tried just about everything to leave the town. They pretty much explored every avenue. I don't think they tried to do the air again, but I'm assuming from the crashed helicopter, they wouldn't try that because that would just happen again.
Yeah. Yeah, they actually like pulled off a pretty decent like survivalist sort of scenario. Like it actually like was logically surviving, like trying to survive. So like,
yes,
we see like the trials and tribulations of them trying to survive in this other reality.
Mm-hmm. The only downsides to me are the rock needing a clear description in regards to the blood and the orientation of the body. And to me, like the slight spoilers of how Isabella died, because I don't know how necessary it was to have it so like when you lower something in there, it only cuts when you pull back. Like why that was important.
it's
Is adding
important
that
to
in?
add. Sorry,
Go ahead.
I was going to say it adds. It's important for me, at least from my point of view. It's important for the horror of it because you're getting exactly like you're getting the explanation for why why this stuff happens, and you as a reader are helpless to like no. So like yeah, it's that kind of horror. Like it's the doom, the death spiral in certain horror stories where like you as a reader know the outcome, but you are powerless as a reader because you are simply an observer of the story. So you're left to just continue reading to see how a death spiral.
Because of oh, go ahead, Mikey.
It's also important to establish that it's a one-way street,
Mm-hmm.
so there's no returning.
That's very true. I'll give you that. Though it makes me wonder, all the kids that went through, and they put them in and pulled back. I don't truly know if they just spawned inside the rock. Because what if all of them spawned outside the rock and just had to find their way back to civilization or get killed by nature? And Isabella is just, she didn't go further than everyone else. She went shorter than everyone else. She didn't quite get all the way into the portal.
Yeah. Well, we don't really know that because of the way the story is it's that happened after the person finished writing the notebook. So sort of left to speculate. Yeah.
I'm assuming none of the kids got out, because if they got out, the kids would be telling, there'd be like 15, 20, 30 kids all saying the same story and bringing the authorities back here compared to just a random guy finding the rock.
Yeah. I think what happened here was that it was she was the one that got the farthest, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. Realistically, though, as I said before, this is journal format, so where I normally would be like, but what happened exactly? I want to know. In this format, though, I don't need to know because I shouldn't know, because it wouldn't have been written down, so that's fine.
Yeah, I was a little worried about that. I was like, oh man.
He's not going to like this. Yeah. But aside from the rock description, honestly, that's really the main thing. I recommend it, though, overall.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, three roundhouse recommends to the face.
Yeah.
Just Jean-Claude Van Damme. Yeah, that was this week's episode. If you like what you heard, or if you didn't, and if you have any information regarding the city, a city of Corona, fictional or otherwise, within the country of Sweden, please contact us. You can also send us messages, or you can also leave us messages in the comment section below, where it's posted, whether it be on Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, or Tumblr. You can send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. Where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, Reddit no-sleep stories, SCPs and cryptids. You creep it, we'll peep it.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to talk to us on Twitter, Mikey is at the E stands for evil. The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow, but without that W because his name is very long.
The king.
Yes. And I'm at Review Cultist. If you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon, look up Al Dente Rigor Mortis, and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tier with special episodes, early access, extra content. To our patrons that are helping support the show, thank you guys immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay, and as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you all the same, because without your listenership, it'd be like screaming into the void. It'd be like descending down 700 meters into a portal and then getting cut off.
Yeah.
And without your authorship, without these stories that you write and share online, either be it creepypasta.wiki or the SCP Foundation or Reddit Nosleep, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we'd have nothing to talk about. We wouldn't have read a really cool story about an alternate reality and the city that got teleported to it. So thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. The stands are evil.
And I'm the Gamer in Yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigor Mortis.
And go to sleep.
Wait, what?